for 3 or 4 weeks, I've been saying LSU's going to win this game. I believe in them. There's some erosion with Alabama's defense now. We know this. And Joe Burrow is going to probably be the first overall pick. He makes plays. He made plays out of the pocket as well.
Yep.
He put the football down and run. I got to bring this up, though. Is the Nick Saban magic gone? And I asked that's a question, but I want to now back it up with a couple of things that probably leads me to deduce that on some small level it is. And I'm going to trace it back to the Sugar Bowl back in 2014, the national semifinal. Remember they played Ohio State? They lost this game. Cardell Jones was the quarterback. Cardell Jones was good enough to get drafted, not good enough to be anything in the NFL yet. He's going to be in the XFL, right? Whatever it is. But that game, that was the first snapshot of a very talented, big, strong, pretty quick quarterback, have it his way. 250 yards, a touchdown. He had 43 yards on the ground as well. Okay, that's a while ago. But then you get to 2015. Deshaun Watson beats him. Loses. This is the national championship. They lose 45-40. Clemson loses. But Deshaun Watson goes for 405 with 4 touchdowns and 73 yards on the ground. Then you get to the next year, and Deshaun Watson again goes for 420. Now they win 3 touchdowns and 43 yards rushing and a touchdown. You start to see a trend now. These dual threat quarterbacks, these special quarterbacks, right? What happened in 2017? Kelly Bryant's not special. Yeah. Clemson did horrendously. Alabama slapped him. What happened in 2018? They beat the Sooners, but Kyler Murray was outstanding. Over 3 bills throwing, over 100 yards rushing. And what happened? Yes, Trevor Lawrence at the championship game. And what happened this weekend? Joe Burrow sliced up Nick Saban. This does not take away from his legendary, iconic status. But right now, Nick Saban is not evolving with the game. He's not. I don't think he is.
I don't think that's the case.
I just gave you evidence to prove that I'm right.
True, but
these good quarterbacks are killing them.
But looking at this defense in particular, so they lost at least 4 guys to the draft last year. They probably lost 3 or 4 more because they aged out. So they were seniors and they left, and so they have a very young. And I said this on Friday, BT, and it's significant. They are leading the nation in freshman starts this season. They have 4 freshmen starting on the defense, 2 interiorly, Justin Aboigbe at the DN, DJ Hale at the nose guard. 2 linebackers are freshmen as well, Shane Lee and Christian Harris. In fact, Shane Lee was so bad in coverage that they had to bring in a sophomore or a junior to cover Clyde Helaire, Edwards-Helaire.
I heard you talk about this.
Who was ridiculous. He had 77 yards and I think he was the leading pass catcher for LSU. So they took advantage of Alabama's weakness. You know that Alabama's weakness is its age, meaning its youth, and the second level and the linebacking core. So what do? You chuck it down to Clyde Edwards-Helaire 7 times. He has 77 yards and a touchdown. And then on top of that, he rushes for 130 yards and has 3 touchdowns on the ground, mostly up the gut, and these delayed draws and quick snap dives and stuff. Teams know how to attack young players, regardless of who they are. Nick Saban is caught in an adjustment year right now defensively. So we can talk about how good Joe Burrow is, and he put his stamp on the Heisman Trophy in my mind. I don't know how anybody else.
Over.
I don't know how anybody else surpasses.
They don't. It's over.
They beat LSU. No, they beat Alabama. They beat Florida.
Yep.
And they beat Auburn. Right? These great SEC programs. And they're probably going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship, the other great SEC program. This LSU squad has many different ways they can beat you. When you look at the game 2 weeks ago against Auburn, that was a grind, man. It was like Auburn hit them in the mouth, took the lead. They are gritty defensively. They have a good, solid offense. They're not explosive with Bo Nix as a freshman at quarterback, but they will grind you to death, Auburn. LSU found a way to win that game. They found a way also to outshoot the shootout kings in Alabama now with Tua.
Yeah.
Now, Tua was off early. It was frustrating if you were an Alabama fan, it was frustrating to watch because nothing could get going. But he is Tua Tagovailoa, and he's a Heisman candidate for a reason. He's largely viewed as one of the great quarterbacks in college football for a reason. That second half, he was explosive. And at the end of the game, when they're down by 2 scores, And we're on the radio saying it's going to take a miracle. What does he do? He draws back and throws a 75-yard touchdown.
I couldn't believe that.
Which was unbelievable.
I could not believe that.
I mean,
that was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous how good he was. That was to Devontae Smith.
And he threw it in the air. And I think I heard you describe it like the height of the throw really allows receiver to go and get it.
That's right. He threw it out in front of his receiver, not on a line, not like I'm gonna get it to you as fast as possible. I'm gonna put this ball where I know you can run under it to give you time to break free of the defender, because he's hand checking right with the defender, and we see this all the time in sport and football in particular. You're hand checking with the defender, the ball's on a line, you try to get your hands up, you can't catch it, right? Because you're hand checking with the defender. Right? He put that ball so Devontae Smith could run away from the defender underneath it, 75-yard touchdown. All of a sudden, you're like, dude, if they get the onside
kick.
But that was the miracle. The miracle wasn't the big play. The miracle was the onside kick, which they weren't able to corral because Justin Jefferson, one of their great wide receivers, went high and got it and snatched it and ended the game for LSU. But this isn't about Nick Saban falling behind.
No, I think it is. I think it is.
To me, this is about Nick Saban losing talent and having to play young players.
I hear you.
And when that happens...
But that's 5 years of evidence I just gave you. 5 quarterbacks have sliced him up.
Yes.
Big.
Deshaun Watson.
I understand that.
He's a star.
I understand that.
He's great.
He's phenomenal.
Right? Trevor Lawrence, the same way.
Kyler Murray, good. I get it.
By the way, Trevor Lawrence did the same thing, too.
I get it.
In the semifinals
But the modern quarterback is having his way with Alabama defenses. That you cannot dispute, because I just ripped off 5 years of stats to the contrary.
But BT, let me point something out to you.
It is what it is.
The modern quarterback is having his way. The good modern quarterbacks are having their way with everybody. Everybody. Jalen Hurts is crushing it at Oklahoma. Heck, you look at Lamar Jackson in the National Football League.
We'll get to it.
Right? Greg Roman ran the dive option of all things. I mean, what the hell? I haven't seen that since I was in high school.
That one run was that one run. That run. I mean, come on, man. That's unfair.
It's unfair on defenses in general. College football in particular is just so wide open and so fast that you can't game plan against it. You really can't, especially if you have a senior leader like LSU has in Joe Burrow, a very reliable core of wide receivers. And we talk about Alabama's wide receivers. LSU's are just as damn good. And you got a running back who's 5'9" and 210 pounds, so you can't find. All of a sudden, he's scooting for 130 yards and 3 touchdowns.
All right, well, listen.
Modern offenses are just tough.